Alright guys, welcome to solving absolute value inequalities. Okay, there's really four steps that we're going to use to help us solve these inequalities, and we're going to kind of consider using some of the things that we did with absolute value equations here as well. So we're going to solve the corresponding equations. That's step one. We're going to place solutions on the number line, okay, and then we're going to check a value at each interval to determine if the inequality is true, and then we're going to write our answer using proper notation. Most of the time I would like you to write it in interval notation. So let's get started. We're first going to solve the absolute value of 2x minus 3 is less than 7. Now, like with absolute value equations, we have to write our inequality without absolute value. So First, we're looking left is positive, so just drop the absolute value bars and write it as an equation. Okay, so don't leave the inequality, write it as an equation. And then on the second one, the right is the negative. So you take the opposite of what's in absolute value only, and you set that equal to 7, and you solve the corresponding equation. So that's step one. So I solve 2x minus 3 equals 7, and I get x equals 5 by adding 3 to both sides and dividing by 2. Here I distribute the negative sign, so I have negative 2x plus 3 equals 7, and I solve that equation for x by subtracting 3 from both sides and dividing by negative 2. Okay, so here are my two solutions, 5 and negative 2. Be careful on the number line. Some people will just drop 5 down here and negative 2, but negative 2 is here and 5. So now we got to go down to step 3 and check. So I pick a number smaller than negative 2, which x will be negative 3, a number between negative 2 and 5, 0 is perfect, and let's let x equals 6. So I plug negative 3 in for x, and I simplify, and I get 9 is less than 7, not true. I simplify here by plugging in 0, and I get 3 is less than 7, that's true. And on the outside here, I get is 9 less than 7, that's not true. So here we're not true, and here we're not true. The only spot where we get true solutions are between negative 2 and 5. Now, the inequality does not have the line underneath, so both circles are open. So I open circle at negative 2, open circle at 5, and fill in everything in between. Those are the solutions. Interval notation would say negative 2 and comma 5, both in parentheses because we cannot include those. Okay? You could also have written x is greater than negative 2 and x is less than 5 would have worked. With our second example, we have the absolute value of 3x minus 8 is greater than or equal to x plus 4. So this is a little more work. Again, left side, you have the positive, so just drop the absolute value bars. Here we're going to take the opposite of what's an absolute value, and I put that in red, and that's equal to x plus 4. So on the left side, we just solved that equation. We got variables on both sides. So I subtracted the x off from both sides, added 8 to both sides, and divided by 2, and I got x equals 6. On the right side, it's a little more work. You got to distribute. Okay, and then the second step, I have variables on both sides. I brought the x over, and then I brought 8 over by subtracting 8 from both sides, and I ended up getting x equals 1. So I put 1 and 6 on my number line. Again, make sure they're in order, 1 and 6. So I pick a number less than 1, which is 0. I pick a number between 1 and 6, that's 2. And number greater than 6 is 7. So normally, when you're picking these numbers, make sure they're as easy as possible to deal with. I plug x into the original inequality and simplify, and I get 8 is greater than or equal to 4, so that's good. When I plug 2 in, I get the absolute value of negative 2, which is 2. Is that greater than or equal to 6? Nope. And finally, we have 7. We plug 7 in, we get the absolute value of 13, which is 13. That's greater than or equal to 11, so that's a check. The inequality is underlined, so we're going to fill in those circles, and we go to the left and to the right. So x is less than 1, less than or equal to 1, or x is greater than or equal to 6, which I'll show you the solution here written. That's interval notation, or you can write it like that, so either one. You can include 1 and 6, so you have the brackets. Infinity you can't ever include, so you use parentheses. Okay, so that's just a quick introduction to solving absolute value inequalities. If you guys have questions, feel free to write them below, or you can email me at nicholas.bennett@dc.gov. Thanks, guys.